The film opens with the woman, Nina, reflecting on her recent divorce from Marvin while sorting through her belongings with her friend, Josie. When Josie suggests starting with the camera equipment, Nina insists on handling it herself. Josie asks about returning the ring to Marvin, and Nina casually says she might keep it as a reminder of her past mistakes. In the sanctuary, Darius Lovehole and his friends discuss women and romance, while Nina and her friend enjoy drinks nearby. At the bar, Nina and Darius cross paths, and she confidently asks what he's thinking about. He replies that he's pondering a woman he once saw, marking their first meeting. Suddenly, Ed, one of Darius's friends, invites him to the stage to perform New City. Darius captivates the audience with his performance. Afterward, Nina compliments Darius, and they introduce their friends. He asks her to write a poem for the next week, to which she agrees but insists it won't be about sex. She writes love on his hand, telling him he might not understand its significance, while Darius's friends tease him. The next day at work, Nina and her boss Roger argue over a chicken dish he didn't like. Their disagreement escalates, and Roger accuses her of being unhelpful. Frustrated, he tells her she can leave. Meanwhile, Darius discusses his book with Ed, mentioning that just because Ed helps him doesn't mean he'll be in the book. Later, Nina visits an old record store and is surprised to find Sheila, whom Darius had introduced to her previously, working there. Nina asks for an Isley Brothers CD, and Sheila points her in the right direction. Darius arrives on his motorbike, greets Sheila cheerfully, and seeing Nina, approaches her to start a conversation. Darius tries to catch Nina's attention, suggesting she play a classical track instead of Charlie Parker. When Nina comments that it sounds sad, Darius explains it's melancholy. She agrees, gives her information to Sheila, and starts to leave. Darius asks if they can grab a drink sometime, but Nina declines, saying it's not personal. After she leaves, Sheila hints that Nina might already have a man in her life. Darius goes to Nina's house and knocks on the door. She angrily asks if he is following her, but he explains he got her address from the check she wrote at the record store, and apologizes, giving her the CD she was looking for. He gestures to come in, and she invites him. While looking around, she asks why he came. He reminds her of their earlier conversation and suggests it's a good time to talk. They sit down, and Darius compliments Nina on her photography. Nina, curious about his varied interests, asks if he is a Renaissance man. Darius shares a Mozart quote, "The goal of an artist is to create a definitive work that cannot be surpassed," and adds that he tries to live by that philosophy. Darius invites Nina to join his friends at a get-together. Initially hesitant, she laughs at his joke about bringing lots of CDs and agrees to go. The next day, they go to his friend's house, where a lively discussion about the concept of a god-woman and a god-man ensues. Darius explains how women's powers can render a man incapable of functioning, leading to playful teasing from Sheila. Despite the banter, the group enjoys each other's company. After the gathering, Nina and Darius take a nighttime walk, and Nina recites a short poem by Sanchez. Both seem happy. Darius suggests going to Wild Hare for reggae music. Though concerned about the rain, Nina agrees, and they dance closely, strengthening their bond on their first date. Darius takes Nina home on his motorbike. After she thanks him for the day, he kisses her. Despite initial hesitation, their mutual attraction leads them to share an intimate moment at her home. The next morning, Nina wakes up to find Darius in the kitchen, cooking omelets. Curious about her feelings regarding the previous night, he asks if she's happy with what happened. She playfully responds that nothing happened without her intention, causing them both to laugh. Darius reassures her that they'll see each other again, ensuring their connection continues to grow. Later, Nina and her friend Josie head out together, and Nina recounts the previous night's events. Josie is surprised by how quickly they became close and asks about the intimate moments. Nina, looking happy and content, explains that while they aren't in a formal relationship, everything that happened felt natural. Meanwhile, Darius's friend Savon is having a disagreement with his wife, Troy, about paying bills. When Darius arrives, he doesn't take the argument seriously, frustrating Troy, who leaves with their son. Darius reminds Savon of their plans to play pool, shifting the conversation away from the tension. While playing pool, Darius and Savon have a deep conversation. Darius asks if Savon married his soulmate. Savon, not in the mood, implies it depends on the day. Darius advises him to work things out no matter what happens. Savon questions Darius about his situation with Nina, growing suspicious. Darius assures him they had a great time, even cooking her a cheese omelet, but insists it's not serious, just fun. Darius then takes Nina to his place, where she checks out his pad and CD collection. She grabs a camera and playfully asks him to take off his clothes for a photo. As he gets closer, they kiss and make love again. Marvin, Nina's ex-husband, shows up at her house, apologizing and asking her to return to New York. Nina refuses, saying he never made her feel safe. Despite his attempts, she remains firm. Nina consults her friend Josie about the situation. Initially, Josie disapproves of Nina considering New York, but then advises her to talk with Darius first. Josie suggests that if Darius is indifferent, Nina could go to New York, make him jealous, and teach him a lesson. Feeling anxious, Nina finally tells Darius she's going to New York, though showing a hint of unhappiness. He pretends to be okay and asks why she's leaving. She explains she has contacts to meet and unfinished business, which makes him suspect she might see her ex-husband. Nina reassures him she isn't. Concealing his true emotions, Darius says he's fine with her decision since they're just friends and appreciates her honesty. Later, Darius meets with Savon to discuss Nina's news and seeks advice. Struggling with mixed emotions, Darius alternates between revealing and masking his feelings, creating a confusing exchange. Eventually, he tricks Savon by claiming Nina is the one for him, then bursts into laughter, leaving Savon bewildered. At a bar, Darius notices a woman, and they exchange glances. She later ends up at his house, where they spend the night together. Nina's message follows, informing him of her check-in time and that she'll contact him when she returns. In New York, Nina faces rejection for a job application. Frustrated, she returns to her ex-husband's home. Instead of support, he casually asks for toasted oats, infuriating her. He tries to explain his bad day, but Nina, equally upset, retorts about her awful day. Realizing returning to him was a mistake, she leaves the next morning, silently placing her ring on his little finger before walking out. In the sanctuary, Nina and Josie have a conversation. Josie complains about the lack of attractive men, and Nina mocks her for always thinking about that. Josie retorts that Nina is there for the same reason, but Nina insists she enjoys poetry. After leaving the sanctuary, Darius's friend Wood tries to join their conversation, but they brush him off. When Wood asks for a ride, they mock him for his car and go their separate ways. Josie comments that Wood is handsome, but not her type, and asks Nina to set her up with him. Nina isn't interested in doing that, but Josie is confident she'll eventually call Darius. The next day, Nina sees Darius kissing another woman on the street, leaving her confused and unsettled. Meanwhile, Wood approaches Nina playfully, asking her to take his picture with her camera. They chat for a while, and Wood seriously asks her out to dinner. Despite her initial hesitation, Nina doesn't want to decline his invitation. Wood and Nina went out to dinner, sharing jokes and enjoying each other's company. During the meal, he playfully complimented her figure, making them both laugh. Meanwhile, Darius, working on his book, received a call from a friend informing him that Nina was back in town. Darius already knew and told his friend that Nina was not his girl anymore. In the evening, Sheila and Darius were having dinner when they saw Wood entering the hotel. Sheila asked if Darius had heard about Wood's dinner with Nina and told him to stay cool. Wood joined them, and they engaged in a conversation, avoiding the subject of Nina. As tensions rose, Darius taunted Wood about his competence, and Wood fired back. Darius pointed out the difference between resigning and being terminated, then abruptly left. Sheila chose not to get involved and told Wood they were mature enough to resolve their issues. Wood confided in Sheila about his affection for Nina, but reassured her that their dinner was normal. At a home party organized by Sheila and her friends, Savon brought his friend Tracy Powell and introduced her to Sheila. While chatting with Darius, Savon defended his friendship with Tracy, mocking Darius for never having a relationship lasting more than 6 months. Wood takes Nina to the party to make Darius jealous, but Nina is unhappy with the situation. Upset, she asks Sheila for the bathroom. Later, she tells Wood outside that she feels used and asks to go home. When he refuses, she leaves on her own. Wood returns to the party, and Darius asks where Nina is. Wood says he doesn't know. Darius then goes after Nina to calm her down. She angrily tells him she saw him kissing another woman and leaves him standing as she hails a taxi and drives away. The next day, Nina called Darius to apologize for the previous night's events and invited him to the Vaughn Steppers show, offering him a ticket. They went to the event together and had a wonderful time, which helped to strengthen their relationship. When they returned home, Nina set up a pillow and blanket for Darius to sleep alone, which surprised and upset him. She explained that it felt a little awkward, but that she was planning to save something for later. After kissing him, she left him in her room. Unable to control his emotions, Darius eventually went to her room, and they ended up dancing together. While Darius was on a phone call, Nina came in and started kissing him, leading to a passionate moment. Later, at 5 a.m., Darius received a call from Lisa, which Nina noticed. The next morning, Nina offered Darius a beer, but he declined. She asked if he thought she had slept with wood. Darius avoided the question, but Nina pressed. Frustrated, Darius told her she was disturbing his concentration while he was reading. In anger, Nina threw his book aside. Darius tried to calm her by taking her photo, but she wasn't in the mood. He explained that he had nothing to do with Lisa anymore, but Nina refused to trust him. Darius lost his temper, shouting about her past mistakes and saying she shouldn't be with someone she doesn't trust. The next morning, Nina packed her bag and left, throwing his key at him. As she walked out, Darius reflected on his past relationships and felt depressed about his tumultuous experiences. His friend advised him that it is what it is. Both Nina and Darius were heartbroken over their separation. In sadness, Darius aggressively threw his writing keyboard across the room. While Darius was with a friend, Josie called to inform him that Nina had been recognized for her photos in Vibe magazine. She suggested he see her off, but he declined. Later, Darius ran to the train station to catch Nina, but the train had already left. Heartbroken, he watched as she left the city. A year later, Nina channeled her energy into her photography, gaining popularity and success. Similarly, Darius focused on his growth, achieving personal and professional milestones. However, he still felt the absence of Nina in his life. Finally, within the sanctuary, the stage leader informs them of an upcoming performance and assures them it will be the same feeling as always. To everyone's surprise, especially Darius, who was in the audience, he announced Nina's name. Nina stepped forward and began to recount her personal stories, delivering flawless and perfect poetry that held everyone's attention. As she left the sanctuary, it began to rain. She was about to hail a taxi. He quickly called out to her, and they started a conversation, eventually deciding to reconcile and work through their past issues and get back together. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.